We're an 18-month transitional living community, and it's voluntary. So residents find us or are referred by other agencies locally, and they apply by a phone call, initial interview and phone call, where we spend an incredible amount of time talking and referring and kind of getting their story, building some trust, and then we move from the phone call to a physical interview. And the physical interview consists of 2 staff members, and even if it's an intact family applying to the program, just 1 parent at a time comes to the interview. And we do an interview there, tell them about the program and how it works and how it's voluntary and sort of some of the stuff we hit. They can choose to come into the program after they've done a community interview, which is our 3rd phase. In that interview, there's a staff member present. Generally, it's a house director. So it's the person that works at Tubman House in the evenings. Get to know that person, that applicant, and see if they're a good fit for the program. It's really an interesting process. Then that the prospective resident leaves, and the residents all talk and discuss. And so getting to that point, we've never actually declined a resident.
Once you get to the community interview?
Yeah, generally not. And the residents are real forgiving and supportive, but it's an empowering piece, I think, just to have the youth development piece in there. Well, 18 to 21 years old, either pregnant or with a child. We serve men and women, as long as both partners are between the ages of 18 and 21. Oftentimes we'll have a family come that is pregnant with their second and they have a child, or they come with their child, and launch into a community commitment for 18 months is our hope. Sometimes people complete their goals much sooner, and they're out in 6 months or 8 months. So.
But it's not as if you need to be clean to get into Tubman.
Absolutely not. So we're definitely harm reduction approach, not zero tolerance. We have families that come in really committed to staying clean and sober, and definitely have some relapse issues, and we definitely get them the support that they need. Once they've joined the community and they're living in community, they have community meals together. They attend weekly community house meetings, and then we combine the 2 houses, and they meet as a community once a month and do recreational things and have a combined community monthly activity. We also do as a community something called GYC, which is Group Youth Corps, where we're working on community topics and justice issues, and sometimes it's simple stuff like cleaning up litter. Sometimes it's more intensive, like going and working in a home, taking care of patients with Alzheimer's, so there's different projects they can get involved in that are community based. We have a course catalog that this staff has developed called Give 60, and it's basically giving the first 60 days of your life in the program, and we're all really proud of that. We really like that piece of it, and so we have something as the young adult that's coming into the program is feeling sometimes anxious and settling in, and there's a lot of emotions that arise in the beginning for them. It's a great way to kind of ground them, and so we have a course catalog, almost like a college catalog, and they use that catalog to tackle and pick different goals out of it to work on. We're working on them choosing and taking charge of kind of the areas they want to work on, and sometimes they're working on gratitude projects or journals or healing kind of things. And then after the 60 days is sort of a time for them to discern. Basically, that's their discernment period, and then they decide what it is, that if this is the right program for them. And I can tell you, in the first couple of weeks, there's a lot of feeling of being overwhelmed, but also a lot of enthusiasm and passion, because they're like, oh, okay, I'm here, I can get a lot of stuff done. It's usually a couple weeks in where they're realizing whether they can even assess whether they can pull this, whether they're really going to make the choice to do it. And I think they exhale. So, and really during that time, in the first, so in that first 60 days, we do the typical intake form, and you're doing a case management assessment and evaluation and checking in on clients' history and things like that. And it's important to have that knowledge to move forward and support clients. But the piece that feels holistic and real human to us is to have the piece from the very beginning, them to be able to step in and take charge too and be responsible for those choices. And so that's what's neat about the catalog. And all the way from physical activity, doing a jog around the block, taking your baby for a walk, doing simple things, to more complicated things like navigating social services. Yeah, it's basically they decide at that point with their coach, who is going to get to that as well. They basically are assigned, upon entrance at Tubman, they're assigned a coach, and that's somebody who guides them through the 18 months. And we generally like that person to be the consistent person for the entire stay at Tubman, which has been was developed in the very first year, actually, when we opened Tubman House's doors. And we learned real quick within the first 3 months or so that we needed to have something where it was like a support person that was your point person, and the person that was there through the super duper hard times, but also there to celebrate all the successes and all the things that are amazing that have happened. So, and we have so many of both at Tubman in that 18 months, So the coach component is really valuable at Tubman, and we pride ourselves in that. The other big piece of how they collaborate as a community is that when they are living at their specific house with their house director, they have cook nights that rotate. They share meals together. We have something called Commissioner of Clean, and the Commissioner of Clean is the person that's actually in charge of coaching the rest of the residents through keeping a house in order. So it's several layers of how they work together as a community.
So I would expect that people that come in, they're going to be needing education, drug and alcohol assistance. How do you keep track of their progress? How do you keep progress? Is that written, you kind of write up some targets and milestones?
That's right. So we do a lot of that with our coachee. So with the client that we're working with, the coach and the client will sit together weekly. They have weekly coaching sessions, which actually bleed into more than just a sit-down 2-hour assessment of how your progress is going. Oftentimes it's several check-ins during the week, but the coaches really, we dedicate a certain chunk of time each week to do it as well. So we really try to respect and honor that time. So if a client if a coachee puts that on their calendar, so I'm meeting with my coach at this time, they both really try not to cancel that appointment, because it's like, they've really etched it in. And during that time, they'll talk about progress and struggles and setbacks, which happen all the time. The constant, relentless, holistic approach to the support, everything from going to a college class with the resident, to being there for when the baby's born. All those things are all pieces of how the program works as a community. So we contract with a marriage family therapist, but we also contract out into the community. We get trained therapists to work at a sliding scale with the residents, and generally they qualify for both. So they can either get individual therapy or couples therapy, which is actually one of the typically mandated pieces, is that if you are entering as a couple, we ask that you, no matter what you think you need, do some marriage therapy. It's ever-changing, lots of modifications, lots of inspiration and exposure brought to the residents through their coach. Even things like participating in a ropes course, or things that are simply community events where people start to figure out what a wildflower hike, like the one you're taking. Things that you're exposing yourself to that kind of shift and change how you feel about what direction you want to take and your passion. And one of the really strong tenets that Bridget and I both came into this work with, not just the cliche term daring to dream, but the idea that, service jobs need to be filled, but that's not what you have to get stuck doing. Like, you can be passionate about something and pursue it, and you deserve it, you can earn it, all of these pieces. So that's been really interesting to break it all down and look realistically at what their goals are and what they want to do, and be behind them 100% of the way. Telling them when it's absolutely probably not realistic, and absolutely when, yes, this is totally something you can do. So being there as that coach who really is, celebrating the successes and failures, but also being a parent and a, counselor and a guide. When they leave, we hope that they'll leave with this sense of, reverence for the memory making and for their children, because that's so much a part of who we serve as well.
Do they need 100% completion of the contract? But it seems to me this contract's inclusive of what they need to be passionate and balanced. So it would seem to me there'd be a point where you're kind of like, you're 80% there, you can do it on your own. Does that kind of stuff happen on contract items? Not,
Oh yeah, no, some people are just super self-sufficient about some of the areas and, knock it out. But we're attending doctor's visits and, babies' births and lots of court dates and lots of other things that just, they need somebody supporting them, arm to arm, being there for that. And I think that those things, even the most, developed young woman or young man is going to maybe even not ask for that support, but need it. And so we're there for that stuff. Oh yeah, there's a whole shift in attitude and kind of this, definitely there's emotions that get heightened on the tail end of things too. We really also try to bring in a reverence for celebration. So the closure is definitely like a graduation party. We might have it catered, or we might go somewhere to like a restaurant and there's 3 residents graduating and really celebrate it and have somebody stand up and speak about their successes at Tubman and share with them, photographs of their year and make a photo book with them and really kind of honor those things. Same thing is true for not just graduations, but birthday events for their children, teaching them how to make those memories, and being alongside them to make the memories. Because it's what they really want to do. And when they leave, we hope that they'll leave with this sense of, reverence for the memory making and for their children, because that's so much a part of who we serve as well. And oftentimes, I will say, I work with a lot of aftercare clients and even those who I didn't coach personally, and boy, do they miss it. The pieces of living in community. I get reports all the time, oh, I wish I still had Tubman, or I wish even the things you groaned about, you start to miss,
I can see that would be a huge deal, because they've had the community the whole time, and it's obviously a large reason they were able to knock off all these hard things, and now they're out there.
Yeah.
What kind of things?
We do provide aftercare support initially every week. After they get out, the coach meets with them every week, and then after that, it starts to kind of taper off, and we do it more like monthly. And then we also have events, like we'll have like some sort of community event, and everybody will be invited that's from before as well, former residents, graduate residents. But I will say, one of the most exciting things that's just started at Tubman is because we're getting several residents into similar or the same affordable housing units, we're now realizing that it's justifiable for us to bring a staff member over to that space. And even though they have case management there, here we've built this relationship for almost 2 years with people. Why not continue that? So now it's neat. We're doing something. It's not really like office hours, but that you do in college, but similar in that we take a 2-hour block, set up space, meet all of the former clients that are at that housing space, and do something sort of inspirational in the beginning, and then do a little breakout where we maybe have a little sign-up sheet and say, hey, what are some things on your mind that you want to hit right now? When a resident exits the program, the things that we generally like to have in place are upward of $6,000 saved in their banking account, most of their financial debt paid down or court debt paid down, any time that they've had to serve, that they've served community service and it's done, that their children are healthy and getting wellness checks, and that their pregnancy went well, and that they've gotten the prenatal support that they need, that they've gotten lactation consulting, the basic stuff like just being housed and fed and the basic needs being met. But then we also like them to have housing, clearly, not to go back to couch hopping or car sleeping or shelters or getting on other lists, but actually getting into housing that's affordable and safe feeling for their kids. That's one of the things that comes up a lot is residents will say safety. I just want to be somewhere that's safe and where I feel safe with my kids there. And by the time they've exited, they have built and developed such a relationship with the staff, which is really huge. That coaching piece is so huge, and to leave on really good terms with all of that. That's one of our big goals, so that they always know forevermore that was an authentic relationship that was built, and that we will be in one another's heart in that way. List of commas is a car, oftentimes transportation. GED is another one. We'd like them to have their high school diploma or their GED. College support if they need it. If not right then, we'd like them to know how to navigate that system and get into college and get on financial aid and get the BOG fee waiver and do what they need to do there. So there's a lot at the end that we tackle.